round up a big story from the week now. President-elect Donald Trump is cutting ties from his global business empire when he assumes the presidency. During his first press conference since winning the election, Trump explained he was turning over his business to his two sons instead of selling off his corporate assets. The Trump Group will also be hiring an ethics officer to make sure everything runs smoothly. Critics say this is too little too late. That's our topic this half hour, and we want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also send a tweet at Sally Mack, Fox 26. Joining us live in our newsroom, our Fox 26 senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico. We also have Republican strategist and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
All right, so is this too little, too late? Some have even called it a violation of the Constitution, perhaps, or is it sufficient?
So I got to tell you, I'm really torn on this. I've been watching this ever since Donald Trump won the election as to what he was going to do, and when he delayed the press conference, I actually expected him to do what he's done all along and just kind of let it slide by the wayside. When he announced what he announced, I was somewhat pleased, but is it unconstitutional? No, because the president is exempt from most of those laws. But when the ethics chief, Mr. Walter Schaub, the head of the U.S. government of ethics, came out and said this is not sufficient, it causes us to pause and rethink this. How does Donald Trump, even doing what he did, how does he extricate himself from having foreign influence?
He won't unless he sells his business. You're going to have a lot of naysayers who are going to say no matter what he does. He rolled out a pretty elaborate plan, and there are a lot of people, especially his base, who are satisfied with that. But then you're going to have a lot of naysayers no matter what he does, because he has not put it in a complete blind trust, or he has not sold all of his business. There's nothing legally that says he has to sell his business. In fact, the only thing in the Constitution says that he cannot take money from a foreign government as president. And he has stated that any type of money that would come is going to be dedicated to the U.S. Treasury.
Well, just one hotel.
And then having his two sons in charge of the company, that's another step that he did not have to do. So all of the steps that he's unveiled is not something that he had to do. It's something that he wanted to do to try to squelch any kind of thoughts of conflict.
The money that's going to go to the government is from that one hotel in Washington, so you can't extricate himself from income coming from his properties all over the world. That's impossible, and that's the problem. That's the problem he's having, and quite frankly, it's the problem I'm having with his ability to extricate himself from this deal. Because if he puts his interest in a blind trust, it really dismantles his entire company, because it is him. It's his name. And that's the problem I was having with his ability to do it anyway.
Right, and that's the problem that a lot of people are having, especially when you have development. I mean, a large percentage of his portfolio is in land acquisition and development. So when you have development, this is something that's going to be troubling and coming in his presidency, because we've never had a president with a mass portfolio like he has. However, again, everything that he's done, he did not have to do, and he is not doing anything illegal.
Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
All right, this was a big talker on Chris Tritico's Facebook page as well this week, so let's pull up some comments from there. The first one we're going to go to is Jolynn there in the middle. She says a simple answer as to why this is not sufficient, because he did not actually separate his business interests from himself, the next president. Having children control businesses does not make them blind. It does not make the office of president immune to bribery and blackmail. It was just a show to convince the ill-informed that he was ethical. And then Roberta there responding, saying, much like the unethical and immoral Clinton family and their foundation. And Melinda then adding on, I would say Hillary kept her sideline business where she profited handsomely, 501(c)(3) or not. It's even more wrong. And who cares about Trump's business? She says a businessman was elected. Thank goodness, thank God, at least he can run an empire. There you go, both sides of it.
And you know, it's really time to move on from comparing what happened in the past to what's happening in the future. Donald Trump's going to have to start standing on his own 2 feet, and the problem that he's going to have here, and I think this is what Mr. Schaub is pointing out, is that with his business interest, his global business interest, he's going to, and keeping it without putting it in a blind trust, he's going to continually have to answer critics throughout this entire presidency that he's got ethical issues.
But the reason why he has to continue to answer is because there's a constant comparison to past presidents. This is the first time that we've had a president who's a multi-millionaire, billionaire, who is truly a businessman. The only times that we've actually had to look at something like this was during Eisenhower days. So that's why he's getting the constant comparison, because we've had bureaucrats or people who've always been in politics. But remember, that's why Donald Trump was elected, because people wanted someone who was not part of the whole Washington D.C. bureaucrat crowd, someone who knew how to build.
Let me interrupt you, because
that's why people are not.
Okay, hang on. We have less than 30 seconds. Let me interrupt you. How does he sufficiently assure the general public that he is not going to have an ethical lapse when he's got business interests in countries that we're opposed to?
The fact that he is not breaking any law. That's one thing that people need to look at. Has he broken any laws by what he's doing or by unveiling what he's done? No. In fact, he did not have to do what he's done. He's always going to have critics. People are going to criticize Donald Trump. We've seen that. They criticize him more than they've ever criticized any other president before.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. I put out an APB for Mustafa Tamiz on my Facebook page. Hopefully we'll find him in the next hour. We're going to leave it right there. We'll be back in the next hour wrapping up 2 really good stories.
Oh, we certainly hope he's all right. Okay, thank you guys.